She thought about all the things she could do with the money. She could finally help her family back in the village. She could save enough money to travel abroad, just like Uduak did. And once she got there, she could start a new life, a better life. The more she thought about it, the more it seemed like the right thing to do. Once upon a time, in a big town of Lagos, there lived a loving couple called Kemi and Dele. Kemi and Dele had been married for 4 years and their love for each other was strong. But there was something missing, something they both longed for, a baby. They had tried everything, visiting doctors and hoping with all their hearts. But still, Kemi wasn't pregnant. One evening, after another long day, Kemi sat quiet in their living room. She felt the emptiness growing inside her, a sadness that wouldn't go away. Dele walked in and saw the pain in her eyes. He knew exactly what she was feeling because he felt the same way too. Kemi, Dele said softly, sitting down beside her. I know this is hard, but we can't give up hope. Kemi looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. Dele, it's been 4 years, 4 years of trying and waiting. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Dele took her hand, holding her gently. I feel the same way, Kemi, but we have to keep trying. There has to be a way for us to have a baby. Kemi shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. But what if there isn't? What if we are meant to be childless? I see babies everywhere and it breaks my heart every time. Dele's heart ached for his wife. He hated seeing her so much in pain. Kemi, we don't know what the future holds, but I do know that we can't give up. We have to keep believing that there is a way for us to have the family we want. Kemi wiped her tears, trying to be strong. I want to believe that, Dele, but it's so hard. Every time I see another negative test or hear the doctor's disappointing words, I feel like a little piece of my heart breaks. Dele pulled her into a hug, holding her close. I know, Kemi, I know, but we will get through this together. We will keep looking for answers until we find one that works for us. Kemi nodded against his chest, finding comfort in his embrace. Okay, Dele, we will keep trying, but I am scared. I'm scared of what might happen if we never have a baby. Dele kissed the top of her head. We will face whatever comes together, Kemi. We will find a way, even if it's not the way we expected. As they sat there, holding each other, a new resolve began to form in their hearts. They didn't have all the answers, but they knew they had to keep going. They had to keep searching for a way to make their dream come true. A few days later, after another disappointing visit to the doctor, Kemi and Dele sat down in their living room, the weight of the news heavy on their shoulders. The doctor had told them that their chances of having baby of their own were very slim. It was a blow they hadn't expected, and it left them feeling lost than ever. Dele broke the silence, his voice filled with a mix of hope and desperation. Kemi, what if we ask someone to carry the baby for us? Kemi looked at him, surprised. What do you mean, Dele? How would that even work? Dele leaned forward, his eyes serious. I've been thinking about it. There are women who help couples like us. They carry the baby for them. It's called surrogacy. Kemi's mind spun with new idea. It was something she had never considered before. But who would do that for us? Who could we ask? Dele paused, choosing his words carefully. I don't know yet, but there are women who do this. It's not common, but it's possible. Maybe someone we know could help, or we could find someone that would be willing. Kemi felt a mix of emotion, hope, fear, and uncertainty. But how would we start? And what if it doesn't work? Dele took her hand with a reassuring grip. We would have to be careful, Kemi. We have to think about it, talk to the right people, and make sure it's the right choice for us. But it could be our chance to finally have the baby we've always dreamed of. Kemi's heart pounded as she considered the idea. It was a big decision, one that could change their lives forever. But it also felt like a ray of hope in the darkness they had been living in. Dele, I don't know if this is the right thing to do. Maybe it's worth thinking about. Dele nodded. We don't have to decide right now. Let's take our time, think about it, and see if this is the answer we've been looking for. Kemi agreed. Her mind was still buzzing with possibilities. It was a new path, one they hadn't considered before. But as they sat together, the idea of surrogacy began to take root in their minds. It was a risky decision, but it might be the one that would finally bring them the child they so desperately wanted. Kemi and Dele had been thinking a lot about who they would trust to help them with their new plan. They kept coming back to the same person, Eno, their house help. Eno had been with them for years. She was more than just the house help. She was part of their family. They knew they could trust her, and she was young and strong. Maybe she could help them. One morning, after breakfast, Kemi and Dele asked Eno to sit down with them in the living room. Eno, surprised by their request, wiped her hand on her apron and sat down. She could see that something serious was on their mind. Eno, Kemi began, her voice gentle but a bit nervous. We have something important to talk to you about. Eno looked at them, curious and little worried. Yes, ma. Is everything okay? Dele nodded, trying to put her at ease. Everything is fine, Eno. But we have a special request, and we want you to think about it carefully. Eno's eyes widened. She had no idea what they were about to ask, but she could tell it was serious. What is it, sir? Kemi and Dele exchanged a glance, and then Kemi spoke again. Eno, you know how much we've wanted to have a baby, but it hasn't been possible for us. We've been thinking about other ways to have a child, and we wanted to ask if you would be willing to carry our baby for us. Eno's mouth fell open in shock. She hadn't expected this at all. Carry your baby? She repeated, trying to understand. Yes, Dele said quietly. We would need someone to help us, someone we trust. We thought of you because you are like family to us. We would take care of everything, and of course, we would pay you well for it. Kemi nodded. We know it's a lot to ask, but we don't want you to feel pressured. But if you agree, we are willing to pay you a lot of money, millions of naira. Eno's head spun with the information. Millions of naira? That was more money than she had ever seen in her life. But this wasn't just about money. This was about something much bigger. I don't know what to say, and I finally managed to stammer. Her heart was pounding in her chest. Kemi reached out and touched her hand. We understand, Eno. It's a huge decision. We just wanted to talk to you about it because we trust you. But please, don't feel like you have to decide now. Dele nodded in agreement. Take your time, Eno. Think about it. Talk to us if you have any question. We will support you no matter what you decide. Eno nodded, still in shock. Thank you, ma. Thank you, sir. I will think about it. As she stood up and left the room, her mind was filled with thousands of thoughts. Millions of naira, carrying a baby. It was so overwhelming. She had to think, and she had to think carefully. This was a decision that could change her life forever. That night, Eno lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. She couldn't sleep. Her mind was too busy replaying the conversation she had with Kemi and Dele over and over again. They wanted her to carry their baby. They were offering her millions of naira to do it. It was an offer that could change everything for her, but it was also so big, so serious, that she didn't know if she could do it. Eno thought about her life, her family back in the village, and how much this money could help them. She had always wanted to do something big for her family, to lift them out of poverty. This could be her chance. But carrying someone else's baby, that was a lot to ask. She thought about Kemi and Dele. They had always been good to her, treating her with kindness and respect. She knew how much they wanted a child, how much they had suffered because they couldn't have one. She wanted to help them, but this was such a big decision. What if something goes wrong? Eno whispered to herself in the room. What if I regret it? Her mind kept running around, not giving her any peace. She wished she could talk to someone about it, but who would understand? This wasn't something she could just ask someone's advice on. It was too private. Eno sighed and turned over in her bed, trying to find a comfortable position. She knew she needed to make a decision, but how could she choose? The money was tempting, but the responsibility was overwhelming. As hours passed and the night grew deeper, Eno still couldn't sleep. She kept thinking, wondering what she would do. She wanted to make the right choice, but how could she know what the right choice was? In the end, Eno knew she needed more time. She couldn't decide something this big overnight. She had to think, to weigh everything carefully. But the more she thought about it, the more confused she felt. The next day, Eno was still deep in thought about Kemi and Dele's offer. She couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change in a big way, but she wasn't sure if it would be for better or for worse. As she cleaned the kitchen, her phone rang. It was her friend Udwak calling from abroad. Eno quickly wiped her hands and picked up the call. Udwak, how are you? Eno exclaimed, trying to sound cheerful despite her heavy thoughts. I'm fine, my sister. How are things over there? Udwak's voice was full of energy, and Eno could hear the excitement in her tone. I'm okay, just thinking about some things. Eno replied. Thinking about what? What's going on? Udwak asked with a serious tone. She knew Eno well enough to know when something was bothering her. Eno hesitated for a moment, then decided to tell Udwak everything. Kemi and Dele, my madam and Oga, they asked me to do something big for them. They want me to carry their baby. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then Uduak's voice came through, filled with surprise. What? They want you to carry their baby? And oh, that's huge. I know, right? And they said they would pay me millions of naira if I agreed to do it. Eno explained. Millions of naira? Uduak repeated, sounding shocked. That's a lot of money, Eno. But are you sure about this? Have you thought it through? Eno sighed deeply. I don't know, Uduak. It's so much to think about. I want to help them, but this is a big decision. I'm not sure if I can do it. Uduak was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Eno, let me tell you something. Life here abroad is better. People who work hard can make good money and they live well. If you had that kind of money, you could come here and start a new life and make even more money. This could be your chance, Eno. Eno listened carefully. Her mind was starting to race with possibilities. She had always dreamed of a better life, of doing something big for herself and her family. Maybe this was the opportunity she had been waiting for. But can I really do it, Uduak? Can I really carry someone else's baby? Eno asked, still unsure. Think about it, Eno. This is your chance to change your life. You could save the money, come here and start fresh. Imagine what that kind of money could do for you and your family. This could be the beginning of something great. Uduak encouraged her. Eno was silent. Uduak's words made sense. This could be her big chance. But was she ready to take it? Later that night, Eno lay in bed, staring at the ceiling again. But this time, her mind wasn't confused as before. Uduak's words kept echoing in her head. This could be her big chance. This could be the opportunity to change her life, to do something great for herself and her family. She thought about all the things she could do with the money. She could finally help her family back in the village. She could save enough money to travel abroad, just like Uduak did. And once she got there, she could start a new life, a better life. The more she thought about it, the more it seemed like the right thing to do. The next morning, Eno made up her mind. She was going to do it. She was going to accept Kemi and Dele's offer. It wasn't going to be easy, but she knew it was the right decision. After breakfast, Eno approached Kemi and Dele, who were sitting in the living room. Ma, sir, I've thought about what you asked me, Eno began. Kemi and Dele looked up. Their expression was hopeful but cautious. And Kemi asked, her heart pounding a little faster. Eno took a deep breath. I've decided to help you. I will carry your baby for you. A wave of relief washed over Kemi and Dele. They both smiled, their eyes bright with gratitude. Thank you, Eno. You don't know how much this means to us, Kemi said. We will make sure everything goes smoothly, Eno, as we promised. We will pay you very well for this, Dele added, with a serious tone of gratitude. Eno nodded. I trust you both. I know this is the right thing to do. As she left the room, Eno felt a strange mix of emotions, nervous, excitement, and a little bit of fear. But deep down, she knew she was making the right choice. This was her chance to change her life, and she wasn't going to let it slip away. Kemi and Dele were over the moon when Eno agreed to carry their baby. The next day, they called her into the living room to discuss the details. Eno, we want to make sure everything is clear and fair, Kemi began. We are going to pay you millions of naira for helping us. and we want to sign an agreement to make it official. Dele nodded in agreement. Yes, Eno. This agreement is for your protection and ours. It will say that after you have the baby, we will be the parents and you will get the money we promised. Eno sat quietly, listening. She knew this was a big step, but she had already made up her mind. She had a plan that no one else knew about. Dele continued, we've talked to our lawyer and he has prepared the documents. Once you sign, everything will be set. Are you ready? Eno nodded, a small smile on her face. I am ready. I trust you both, and I know you will keep your promise. Kemi reached out and took Eno's hand. Thank you, Eno. We are so grateful. You are giving us the greatest gift. Dele handed Eno the agreement. She carefully signed her name. As she did, she couldn't help but think about the future. The money they promised would be her ticket to a new life far away from here. But she kept those thoughts to herself. After the agreement was signed, Kemi and Dele hugged Eno, their faces glowing with happiness. They had no idea that Eno was already thinking about what she would do after she had the baby. Months went by and soon Eno became pregnant. Kemi and Dele were overjoyed. They treated Eno with extra care, making sure she was comfortable and healthy. As the pregnancy progressed, Eno began to show, and Kemi couldn't hide her excitement. Eno, look at you. You are glowing, Kemi said one morning as they sat together in the living room. I can't wait to meet our baby. Eno smiled, but inside, she felt a mix of emotion. She knew that this baby would change everything, but she was also focused on the future that lay ahead. Finally, the day came. Eno went into labor, and after hours of pain, she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Kemi and Dele were by her side the whole time, tears of joy streaming down from their faces as they saw their son for the first time. Welcome to the world, Toby, Dele whispered as he held the tiny baby in his arms. You are a miracle. Kemi couldn't stop crying as she looked at her son. He's perfect, Dele, our perfect little boy. They named him Toby, and from that day on, Kemi and Dele treated him like their own child. They were the happiest they had ever been. Eno watched quietly as they bonded with the baby. She saw the love in their eyes, but she also knew that this was just the beginning. She had done what they asked, and now it was time to wait and see how everything would unfold. As Kemi and Dele adored Toby, Eno thought about the millions of naira she was set to receive. She knew that once she had that money, she would finally be able to pursue her dreams. But for now, she remained in the background, watching as Kemi and Dele celebrated the new addition to their family. A year had passed since Toby's birth, and life in the house was filled with joy. Kemi and Dele were over the moon when they learned that Eno was pregnant again, this time with a baby girl. One evening, as they sat in the living room, Kemi smiled warmly at Eno. You've made our lives complete, Eno. First, Toby, and now we are going to have a daughter. We can't thank you enough. Dele added, we are thinking about naming her Ireti, which means hope. She's our little hope, just like Toby is our miracle. Eno smiled back at them, but deep inside, her mind was elsewhere. She thought about the future, about her life, about the life she was planning far away from this house. Ireti is a beautiful name, Eno said softly. I am happy that I could help. Kemi reached out and squeezed Eno's hand. You are more than just our help, Eno. You are family. We will always be here for you. As the pregnancy progressed, Kemi and Dele continued to treat Eno with kindness and care, not knowing that she was counting down the days until she could leave. When the time came, Eno gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Kemi and Dele were happy. They showered the baby with love and attention, just like they had done with Toby. Our family is complete now, Kemi said as she cradled Ireti in her arms. We have everything we have ever wanted. Dele nodded in agreement. Thank you, Eno. You've given us the greatest gift. But while Kemi and Dele celebrated their growing family, Eno was already thinking ahead, planning her next move. As the weeks turned into months, Eno began to save the money that Kemi and Dele gave her. She didn't spend a dime more than she needed to. Every naira was carefully saved, adding to the amount that would help her start a new life. One evening, after putting the children to bed, Eno sat down quietly in her room, packing her things. She moved silently, careful not to wake anyone. She had made up her mind. Tonight was the night she would leave. With her bag packed, Eno took one last look around the room. This house had been her home for years, but now it was time to move on. As she reached the door, Eno hesitated. She thought about Toby and Ireti, the children she had brought into the world, but she pushed the thought aside. This was something she had to do for herself. Without another word, Eno slipped out of the house into the night. She made her way to the airport, and within hours, she was on a plane, leaving Nigeria behind. She didn't leave a note or any clue as to where she had gone. Kemi and Dele woke up the next morning to find Eno's room empty. They were shocked, confused, and worried. They had no idea why she would leave so suddenly and without saying goodbye. Where could she have gone? Kemi asked, her voice filled with concern. Dele shook his head. I don't know, but we will find her. We have to. But despite their effort, Eno was nowhere to be found. She had disappeared without a trace, leaving Kemi and Dele with the two children she had helped bring into the world. Eno's new life abroad was nothing like the one she had left behind. She worked hard, taking multiple jobs to build her future. The money she had saved, along with the ones she had earned, allowed her to live comfortably. Over the years, she climbed her way up with the help of friends she made abroad, securing a good job that paid her well. Eno was determined to make something of herself, and she did. But no matter how busy she was, she never forgot about Toby and Ireti. Every night, as she lay in her bed, Eno thought about the two children she had left behind. 7 years passed like a blur, but the memory of Toby and Ireti remained clear in her mind. One morning, as she sat in her apartment, Eno received a call from Udwak, her friend who had encouraged her to take the surrogacy offer. They talked about old times, and then Udwak asked, Eno, have you thought about going back to Nigeria? It's been 7 years, oh. Eno paused, her thoughts drifting back to Kemi and Dele's home. Yes, I've been thinking about it a lot, she replied. It's time to go back and reclaim what's mine. With that decision made, Eno began to make plans to return to Nigeria. She had built a new life abroad, but now it was time to go back and face her past. She was ready to reclaim her children no matter what it took. And there you have it, lovelies. Thank you for watching up to this point. The continuation of this story is going to be dramatic and interesting. However, I need your approval to upload it. If you enjoyed the story and you want me to continue, please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment saying continue the story. Once I receive enough requests, I will upload the next part. Also, share your thoughts about the story in the comments. What do you think about Eno's decision to accept the surrogacy offer? And what do you think about her plan to return and reclaim the children she's already been paid for? I will be in the comment section to respond to your comments. If you haven't already, please like this video and turn on your notification bell to receive updates when the continuation is uploaded. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.